Okay, y'all. So today I'm gonna give y'all a little quick SmackDown preview, and not sure if this is how it's still gonna play out with Hulk Hogan, passing away. I think Hulk Hogan deserves an entire show dedicated to Hulk Hogan. You know, Chris Benoit got the whole Raw, to himself. So Hulk Hogan, honestly, he can get a SmackDown, but maybe they don't want to put it on SmackDown. Maybe they might do it on Raw and Netflix or something. But it looks like today we gonna have Randy Orton and Jelly Roll and Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre appear, and they gonna do their little fussy fuss thing. Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez. Then we're going to have the Wyatt 6 versus Andrade and Rey Fenix for the tag team titles. And, dude, is anyone else just sick and tired of wrestling's booking right now? And I keep saying this, but like I said before, I believe there's a plot to sell WWE on a fire sale. I feel like Triple H is purposely ruining wrestling. There is no way in hell the Street Profits don't just get a title shot, like a rematch clause. I don't even care that the Wyatt 6 beat the Street Profits, but you could have had the Street Profits get their titles back. It would have just gave the Wyatt 6 some instant gratification that, hey, they can be champions. But for you to just make the Street Profits be some lower tier jobber tag team when they're the only or one of the only legit tag teams out here, it is wild. And those guys are hella athletic, and they just came off of an awesome TLC match. What did the Wyatt 6 do to just want to come after the tag team division? Man, you could have had the Wyatt 6 if you wanted to add some legitimacy to them. You could have had them beefing with the Bloodline. You could have had them beefing with Seth Rollins' little faction. Just based on what the Wyatt 6 persona was for, they were going after, heels. Pretty much. Man, you could have had them going after Chad Gable and, El Grande. You could have had them going after Ludwig. You could use people. And I'm just an average viewer right now. Just like everybody else who's just averagely watching it. Now, I am, a long-term wrestling fan, but I mean, a 2 or 3 year old is writing this stuff. It's making no sense. The way wrestling is booked right now will make you think that no one ever watched wrestling before. You have people like Paul Heyman, Triple H, and all of those guys in the back, Road Dogg. You have all of these people that live through wrestling. They know the psychology of wrestling. But there must be a concerned effort. An effort to make the worst wrestling, week to week shows possible. And, we get a gleam of light every now and then. Once out of 2 months, we get a good Raw or we get a good SmackDown. They usually happen on the same week, I noticed. You know, one week, that Monday you'll get a good Raw, that SmackDown you get a good SmackDown. And then it's BS for 2 months. You know, honestly, I'm really thinking that the way WWE is going and the way AEW is going, if a war for ratings ever broke out, AEW may start catching up. Like, I mean, you have WWE ticket prices mega high. AEW ticket prices were affordable, but they're following after WWE and they're starting to make, you know, their ticket prices for mid-level like $256. You know, everything's going up. Honestly, if you're going to have your ticket prices that high, you know, I hope you all lose money. You know, you're pricing out the average viewer. And also, you know, do you want real fans there, or do you just want, you know, somebody who could afford to buy 10 tickets and take people who don't really watch it? You know, going to an AEW event or your regular SmackDown or Raw should not be the same price of a 5-day vacation somewhere. Like, this isn't vacation. This is a 2-hour, 3-hour show. You know, the same thing with haircuts. You know, I see a lot of men haircuts that are just, you know, they go and get a shape up, you know, just routine lineup. You know, your haircut used to be, you know, $20. If it was really good, you know, $25 to $30. Now that same haircut is like $50 to $60, and you're waiting in line to get your haircut for like 2 hours if you don't get there first. You know, inflation, the prices in America, I mean, man, I could make another video about this, but, you know, this is getting out of control. And, like, honestly, I don't even know what we're going to be living in the next few years. But staying on the topic of wrestling, I think a lot of these indie promotions might start to blow up. A lot of these indie promotions are probably going to blow up because you won't be able to take your kids to see WWE or AEW. They're priced out. It's like going to, you know, the Super Bowl now. Like, it's just ridiculous. You know, and no one's going to pay to go in the nosebleeds for $500 just to go to the event. And like the last time we went to the SmackDown or whatever, you know, you can't even have bottled drinks now. You know, they don't even sell bottled drinks. You know, everything has to be open. You know, well, I don't want a million people breathing on my drink, you know, while I'm trying to go back and sit in the stands and carry all of this. You know, what is going on? You know, a bottle of water, it was like $7. Like, for water, like, I get you have to make a profit, but $7 for, you know, the water? Like, that's crazy, bro. But that just goes to show you what society we live in, man. But that's all I'm going to say. Hopefully Hulk Hogan gets a tribute, you know, or gets a little something on SmackDown, and then maybe Raw. You know, we could dedicate an hour to Hulk Hogan. You know, shout out to everyone that genuinely says R.I.P. to Hulk Hogan. And all those people that's glorifying and celebrating Hulk Hogan's death. I mean, you're gonna get what's coming to you. That's all. That's all I gotta say. You know, you're unapologetically celebrating Hulk Hogan's death is wild, bruh. It's wild, but you know, whatever, bruh.